Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2019 career mode, episode number 46 today for the Chinese Grand Prix in Season 3. If you guys did miss the previous one, the Bahrain GP, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. But heading into then Shanghai, we come here with no upgrades on the car. So like I said at the very end of last episode, this may be quite a tough one for us if other teams do upgrade. There's also going to be some rain involved at the very start of the Grand Prix, so that will make things a little bit more tricky as well for us at the very start. It does mean no qualifying. We can burn through tyres, and it won't really matter too much what tyre we're starting on. But as we go through onto the R&D chart, you can see we're still where we were in the chart, but you can see on the actual graph itself, every team above us has actually improved their car, or all of them. Toro Rosso, McLaren, Renault, and Williams have all improved somewhat. It looks like Renault the smallest improvement of maybe one minor upgrade there, but Williams would probably have at least one major, and I'm thinking that McLaren and Toro Rosso, those are, I think, the equivalent of at least two majors maybe on their upgrades there. So we are probably going to be a little bit slower than we were at Bahrain, and we already were struggling a little bit at Bahrain compared to where we were in Australia. So it really is going to be tough times here at Shanghai, which is unfortunate, but remember, we're only one race away from all our ultimate upgrades coming in, so we just have to get through this Grand Prix, limit the damage in this one maybe, and then just get through to the next one. But I'm still hoping for a good race. You just never know, especially with that rain at the start. You can never really say what could come of it. We might have a brilliant result. You can never tell so early on. So let's remain optimistic. Let's go to Saturday and see what we can do over one lap.
Welcome to Shanghai, China, for what I've no doubt is going to be a fantastic F1 qualifying session. I was looking at some highlights of previous races here, and the one thing that really stood out to me was the run down to turn one. It's not an easy one to navigate, as everyone is scrapping to get into there first.
Turn 1's always a consideration for this race. It's certainly a difficult one to get right when surrounded by other cars, but the race isn't won or lost there. You've got to be smart, get through, and hope your rivals get into trouble and not you.
Alright, so cutting into the end of our first line lap then here in Q1, getting a bit of aid and tow off our former teammate Kimi Räikkönen in the Alfa Romeo, down into the hairpin, harsh braking, and we just about slowed the car down in first gear there, a bit of understeer niggling there, but the car feeling a lot better around this circuit, I must say, than it did at Bahrain. I said Bahrain, the car felt very stiff, whereas this car felt very responsive actually around Shanghai, especially in Sector 2, although saying that, the lap time might not be there, so the car may feel comfy, but it's only good enough for P16 by the time we go through to the end of the session. We have to go for a second flying lap and burn another set of soft tyres here. We timed this really badly here and get held up massively by Romain Grosjean, who's just like a little, I don't know, turtle basically going through turns 1 and 2. Obviously he's on a flyer, so he's going as fast as he can, but absolutely horrendous timing then by myself to send myself out basically for another lap. But I just didn't foresee the Haas car being right there starting his flyer, so we just have to contend with that. So in the end we have to continue on because we don't have any time left to go for another run, so we go across the line, and thankfully we do just about make it through into Q2 there. You can see matching just about Pierre Gasly there, despite being held up by quite a fair bit by Grosjean as we gained some time in the last sector. So we go through into Q2 then, a little bit more overcast here, so already maybe that kind of rain front's coming in for the race weekend, I guess you could say, as there is some rain forecast for the start of Sunday, but none for Saturday, so it might just cool down the track a little bit, make the track temps a little bit colder. But as we go through then the first sector, feeling again, pretty good. Well, the car wasn't feeling horrendous. I felt comfy, felt like I was pushing the limits of the car, but ultimately it looks like the lap time just wasn't there. Like I said, you can feel comfy and think like you've done a good lap, and then the time's not there. I think many times, the lower end cars in real life Formula 1 can say that they've done a great lap, but that's just where the limit of the car was, and that kind of felt like for me where we're at. I felt like I was pushing the car to the limit, to my limit, and felt good with it, but the time just wasn't there because we crossed the line. It's P6, yes, but by the time we go through this session, I have obviously no more soft tyres left. I've used all of my soft tyres, don't have any new ones left, and so as we go through to the end of this session, unfortunately it's going to be curtains for us, and we're going to be out of Q2 then in P12. Gasly makes it through, so shows me up there, and you can see though it's a real close grid spread from Max Verstappen P4 down to myself. That's only 3/10. That's massively close in Formula 1, and just means unfortunately we get knocked out along with George Russell and the two Alfa Romeo cars. So P12 for us then for tomorrow's race. Unfortunate, but there's some rain at the start, maybe something can be possible there, but Gasly's only there P7, so we'll have to see what he can do in Q3. But I'm not massively disappointed because it is a close session, so just have to make the most of it. I knew this race was going to be difficult, so let's go on to Sunday and try and make up for this.
It's time to find out which driver is up to the task of claiming the Chinese Grand Prix. We're here in Shanghai. The ever-tightening turns 1 and 2 will prove tricky in the slippery conditions here at Shanghai, and anyone that slides wide will lose a lot of time getting back on track. Turn 14 should still be the best place for overtaking, but we'll have to see some improvement in the weather before the drivers can take advantage of that DRS assistance. It's not going to be plain sailing for our drivers today, although with the sky falling as it is, perhaps sailing isn't too far from the truth. And Anthony Davidson, could be a wet one today. Great to have you with us. What are your thoughts?
It is a touch damp, isn't it? Well, as a driver, there are 3 big things to worry about when racing in these kind of conditions: standing water, tyre temperature and visibility. Judging distance to the cars around you is really tricky when you're driving through the vast amounts of spray that these wet weather Pirelli tyres kick up.
With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Gasly, Butler, Charles Leclerc and Perez, Weber, Verstappen, Vettel and Kevin Magnussen, Russell, the engineer, Daniel Kvyat and Raikkonen, Giovinazzi, Stroll, Nico Hülkenberg and Lando Norris. Ricciardo and Romain Grosjean sits at the back of the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
So here we are then on the grid in P12 for this wet start and intermediates, but P12, I said we wouldn't be disappointed with that, but now looking at the starting grid sequence after Q3, which obviously we don't see, that's simulated. Unfortunately, that very classic thing that's been the case now, unfortunately, for about 2 games now, is that if you don't make it into Q3 or you miss a session out basically, and it has to be simulated, the game for some reason does not simulate this session based off the R&D cars that you've got, like the Season 3 cars. It uses the base level cars, which is why it's unfortunately a 1-2 for Mercedes, and Pierre Gasly, my teammate, managed to get P3, which obviously wouldn't have been the case if I was in Q3 with him. He would have been, probably P7, P8, and the 2 Toro Rossos probably would have had a 1-2, or the McLarens even, but alas, no, it's a 1-2 for Mercedes, so that's, really unfortunate. It's the first time it's happened so far in this career mode, I believe, the first time it's happened. It happened a lot in F1 2017, not so much in 2018, actually, but that was more due to the fact that I was consistently making it into Q3, and also I switched to short qualifying quite sooner rather than later in the career mode. So we'll have to see about this. If it continues to happen quite a fair bit in Season 3, I might consider switching to short qualifying from Season 4 onwards, just because it really ruins the kind of realism and kind of, the actual R&D, the point of R&D basically when it comes to qualifying, if you don't make it into Q3. So that's a little bit annoying, but alas, it just makes our challenge even harder then, in terms of we have to try and go and match Gasly now, who's in P3, so he'll have obviously a great advantage of being high up there. But of course, I'm expecting the Toro Rossos and the McLarens alike to be charging through and going for the overtakes on those 2 Mercs and Gasly, no doubt, in the first part of the race, hopefully. But we're just going to focus on our race then and worry about Gasly a bit later on if we meet him on the track. Let's go then to 5 red lights for round number 3 of Season 3 here at the Shanghai circuit for the Chinese Grand Prix. 5 red lights are out and we're underway. It's a very gingerly start here from P12 as the spray gets kicked up. We cut across to Danica Fia there to try and cover off the Alfa Romeo and maintain that P12 into turn 1. Round the outside, we're going to try and feed it of Russell and maybe even Magnussen if we can, but K-Mag obviously we know is very aggressive. Let's try and see if he's going to squeeze us into the left-hander. We're going to go very punchy there, squirt the throttle to make sure Magnussen knows we're there and we don't get bullied off the circuit essentially, and we're going to get up into P10 then, just behind Sebastian Vettel's Williams car. I haven't seen too much of Vettel actually on track in the Williams here, so it's going to be nice to actually see him in this, obviously the white and blue now of the Williams cars. We now try and feed around the outside there, but it's going to be a little bit of a short-lived attempt of an overtake there, as Vettel has the traction there just behind the 2 Renaults of Max Verstappen and Lucas Weber. But meanwhile, it's still the 2 Mercs you saw there and that panning shot in 1-2 there. But like I said, I would like to think that eventually the Toro Rossos and the McLarens will come through and start to attack the Mercedes cars. But looking at the mini-map right now, it seems like the Mercedes cars still have the race lead in 1 and 2, and Gasly is now being overtaken by McLaren. I can see up the road of Sergio Perez there, just ahead of the 2 Renaults. So at least Gasly is one of the cars who did well in qualifying due to the glitch. He's now falling back. It's only a matter of time, I would say, until the Mercedes fall back. But anyway, for my fight, we're on lap number 5 now, so we're a few laps into the Grand Prix there. Nothing much really happened in the first few laps. You can see I'm still P10, Vettel's still P9, and Russell is still P11 there. But now as we move on to the back end of lap number 5, Russell building up some pace, and I'm losing grip on the exit of that long right-hander. I think the track is drying out somewhat, and that's meaning the AI getting into a bit of an advantage there. The AI are always really good on traction, but even more so when it's changeable conditions. So into the hairpin, a little bit too deep, and the under pressure from Russell there means a bit of a mistake for me. We go for the switch move on the left-hand side now. Russell on the outside of the last corner. We're going to just about squeeze him out and maintain the P10 position, but we lose a handful of time there on Sebastian Vettel. So really unfortunate. And again, you can see on lap number 6 having to go opposite lock and losing all sense of grip on that long right-hander. And again, Russell will come knocking, this time with DRS, because now it's been enabled on this lap. So that's how you know probably it's dry enough now, probably for the slick tyres, when the FI enable DRS, and we have to tuck in behind Russell as he covers off the inside line quite well, to be fair, and gets that up into P10. But we're going to come in for the pit stop, I think, along with a lot of people there. You can see a whole gaggle of cars in the pit lane. We're going to go for a late move to the inside of George Russell. Catch him napping to the inside there, and if that was the old school pit lane entry, Russell might have been in the gravel trap there, but he takes the escape road, the tarmac there, and still comes through. Collision warning with Russell there because we tapped his front left tyre, but we made it work. You know, you can try and overtake them until you get to the white line there, so we made it work. And you know, we caught him basically not looking in his mirrors long enough. So there we go, nice cheeky overtake down the inside of the pit lane entry there, and so we gain 1 position, 2, 3 positions maybe as we overtake a McLaren that definitely was ahead of us before the pit stop phase. And that's Sergio Perez. That's been held up by quite a fair few cars in the pit lane there, and as well as you've got Lando Norris behind us as well. So yeah, there we go. Sergio Perez is the one behind us, and so we're up into P14. And as we move on to lap number 8, we're going to be up even more so, up into P11. It should be ahead of Magnussen there, and so we've got Danica Fiat in the Alfa Romeo up ahead of us in P10. So Russell has actually managed to re-jump us then in the pit lane. So although I may have jumped some other people like Perez and Magnussen, Russell actually won out quite a fair bit. Russell going from what was P11, where I am right now, to P9 there. So yeah, it kind of happens all the time, you know, when you go from a wet track to a dry track where everyone wants to come in, you're going to get that kind of traffic in the pit lane where people are going to be jumping each other left, right and centre. Of course, you know, you would have seen there actually the pit crew were actually quite delayed to actually have me into the pit box, because Gasly was still technically leaving the area and only just left the area a few seconds before. So it's actually quite fortunate. I could have lost even more time in the pit lane, but now we just focus on the task at hand now, on the dry tyres. Down the inside we go of Danica Fiat, then on the soft tyre, soft tyre. A few people have ran the mediums, but not the people around me, but I think Hamilton has gone onto mediums up ahead, and he's actually still in the top 5 with Valtteri Bottas there. So both Mercs doing well to kind of, you know, keep their positions, or try and keep their positions from that 1-2 they got in qualifying. But here we go now, overtaking Russell, very easily done into the hairpin. Bit of a lock up there and a bit of a deep dive for us into the hairpin. So momentarily Russell has a little look to the inside. They're still trying to get to grips with the circuit as the track is very cold, very cold indeed. It's not damp anymore, I would say, but it's still not exactly optimum grip levels, and you can kind of feel that in the car. Like the car just wouldn't want to bite in onto entry and exit of some of these corners, but it's still setting fast after the Grand Prix, so everyone's in the same boat. Everyone's struggling for grip, everyone's trying to get back up into temperature. So here we go now, we focus on some more fighting here. Verstappen, this is going around the outside of Sebastian Vettel, then just ahead of him is Valtteri Bottas there. So Verstappen obviously is in a car that should be faster than both these guys, so it might be a motive to try and follow Verstappen through, essentially. You can see here I'm just kind of waiting and watching Vettel being overtaken here, because I couldn't kind of stick my nose in anywhere to really go. So now we are playing the patient game, going for a move now to the inside of Sebastian Vettel into turn 1, but overcooking it on the entry there, and Vettel gets the switch back to the inside there, so he's not lost any of the fighting spirit from moving from Ferrari to Williams, clearly, as we're now going to have to go in tandem into turn 2 there, side by side, just about grazing his left rear tyre as we now jockey for position on the exit. Little bit of contact there as we swerve around and try to give each other just about enough room there, but he really squeezes us towards the left-hand side curb on the outside. But then we're going to have the outside line find the traction eventually, and we pull through up into B8. But what a wonderful fight that was with Sebastian Vettel in the Williams then, as we move on to lap number 11 into the hairpin. And now we've just seen Verstappen overtake Bottas very easily there. So like I said, kind of just following Verstappen through as best I can. Of course, I don't have quite the pace to actually catch up to Verstappen and kind of keep up with him, but I'm just trying to basically get the moves done that he's already done effectively a few seconds ahead, as we now try and go and make a move again to the inside of another car. Bottas this time a little bit more cautious on the entry, and so that allows Bottas to have a bit of a line on the outside, but we do the job and squeeze him out very quickly and get across him to maintain that P7 and try and stamp that authority on that position. And now we try and keep up with Verstappen as he's going to go ahead and overtake my teammate Pierre Gasly. So the first time I see Gasly in this entire race then, he's been up in the kind of top 3, top 4 positions for most of this Grand Prix. Actually, he's done well to maintain that good qualifying position he got, but eventually he's overtaken by Verstappen and he's down to what is P5, I believe that is. But now we watch on. That is one Toro Rosso into the pit lane. The other continues on, and Lewis Hamilton is going to continue on for a set of medium tyres. Like I said, Hamilton is on mediums. I don't know if he's going to try and go to the end of the Grand Prix. If he is, it might be a way he tries to go for the race win. We'll have to see. But for now, Hamilton's actually doing a pretty good job of still being in the top 3. But for me, we move in lap 14 into the pit lane then for the pit stop along with Max Verstappen this is. And so we'll see if the overcut is going to work out there because Gasly came in on the previous lap. So let's see, can we jump Gasly with the overcut? I feel like I had some decent speed on the soft tyres, but now it's time to go to the mediums to the end of the Grand Prix. That's why I'm kind of surprised that Hamilton stayed out there. So Hamilton is either trying just a conscious strategy of mediums to softs, or he's going to try and get to the end of mediums. If he does, that's the only way he could try and go for a race win ahead of those 2 Toro Rossos of Leclerc and Butler. But here we come now, out of the pit lane, squirming out, just about keeping inside the white lines. And behind me, just behind me, is Gasly going side by side with Sergio Perez. So I have jumped Gasly, and Gasly is now being attacked by the McLaren, and McLaren has just about got him there, but he comes back, gets the elbows out, and might try and fight that on the left-hand side there, but the Mexican holds through with the McLaren and maintains that position then. So Gasly, unfortunately, now in a sandwich of himself, Perez, and Lucas Weber then, but oh, hang on, Gasly tries to move to the inside, but Perez made a mistake there, and so Gasly tried a half-hearted attempt there. It doesn't work out, but in the end, pretty good to see he had some fight there. Actually, go ahead and try it there. So yeah, the lineup then is myself and P5 ahead of that entire train. Then you've got Verstappen in P4, and then ahead of him is Leclerc in 3rd place, Butler 2nd place, and then, like I said, Hamilton yet to make a second pit stop in this Grand Prix, out in the lead of this GP. So that is the question for the podium, how it will shake out. Will this man be going to the end of the Grand Prix, and will these 2 blue cars catch him in time maybe? If he's not going to come in, is the pace going to be enough on the tyre wear difference to maybe catch him outright? Let's see, but these guys definitely have their own fight, it seems, as we go on through this next stint of this Grand Prix. Leclerc down the inside of Butler, double lock-up though from the youngster, and so Butler is going to have to go around the outside. Can he get back at him? No, he can't. He maintains that P2, Leclerc does, and Butler has to slot in the P3. I didn't see them fight too much at Bahrain, but Australia, they definitely did have some good wheel-to-wheel scrapping, so it's going to come out again, and Butler, will he have the speed to make a move to the inside of turn 1? Yes, he will. He'll come back at his teammate for P2 in this Grand Prix. So the 2 Toro Rossos going at it once again, hammer and tong, and as we come through the opening first turns, lovely camera shot there. Leclerc back down the inside for the next left-hander, long swoop, and will Butler have the speed to carry it around? He's going to have just about enough space, and their 2 teammates giving each other great respect here as they're still going at it. Butler down the inside, bit of contact made there as Leclerc tries to jockey for position on the left-hand side, and can he go the long way around? Can he find the traction? Yes, he can, and Leclerc will maintain that P2 position finally. So it took nearly a whole lap to make that move done and stick in, but he's got P2 ahead of Devin Butler. But that fight, absolutely awesome, gives you throwbacks to maybe the Mercedes fight between Rosberg and Hamilton there, with the 2 Toro Rossos being so dominant and up ahead of everyone else on the grid in terms of R&D performance. But now we move back to our fight on lap 17 now. Finally some action for us in this Grand Prix as we can't catch Verstappen. Instead, we're falling into the clutches of Sergio Perez, of course, a McLaren car. Also another car that should be on paper faster than the Red Bull here that I'm driving, but he's going to give us a good fight, but we're going to give him a good fight back and try and maintain this position. We don't get it into the last turn, but we kind of strategically place ourselves well to get the DRS, get a good exit there, and so we're going to come back at him into turn 1. So no threat, he got us. We're going to get him right back into turn 1 and get back up into P5 and squeeze him out there. But for how long can we keep this up? Because it seems like this McLaren has some very good pace on the mediums there. Verstappen is just walking away from us now, and so can I just keep on fighting this? You know, we've got 10 more laps here. That's going to be a long time. That's a lot to ask of me to try and keep Perez behind, because he comes back at us down the inside now this time as I try and break the toe, trying different lines to see what works. At the moment, actually, it's worked out for us to keep the position ahead into the last corner, but just like happened last lap, this might not actually be great for me, because now Perez is the one that has a great exit off the last turn, has DRS to aid. So let's see what's going to happen here now into turn 1, lap number 19. Perez now down the inside. We're going to squeeze him as much as we can into that apex there, try to turn up the corner for himself, but he's still there on the inside nose, just grazing our side pod there. I think that was. We try and now go a little bit wide on purpose on the right hand side and completely get the elbow out there to maintain P5 for another lap, but third time lucky maybe for Sergio Perez. Let's see, he moves to the left as we go to the right defensive, but look at that, this time for some reason he just had the wind up speed. I don't know if he didn't use enough ERS maybe on the previous 2 attempts, and this time using full overtake mode, maybe so, as he gets completely past me into the hairpin then, as we now move through into the last corner. Do I have a chance to maybe make another move into turn 1? Let's see. We have DRS, of course, a bit wide though that time, and we're not using too much ERS there because we don't have too much to actually use on the right-hand side on the yellow bar. And into turn 1, yellow flags, so we couldn't even make a move if we wanted to, because yellow flags mean we can't make an overtake move until now, but we're nowhere near Perez now as we try and get close up to his gearbox, and he push him through that corner there on the second phase of the right-hander. But as we go down the hill, down the crest, and we now get the power down, Perez is going to maintain that position, and I can't use too much ERS because I need to save ERS for the back straight, so that's why I'm in low ERS right now. I can't afford to use too much now, although it's tempting to, so at the moment Perez has that, and I just can't match him there for pure pace. As we move on through this Grand Prix, this is Lucas Weber now who's going to come knocking on my door. So Perez has now fully checked out, and now I'm looking once again behind me at another car. This time it's my former F2 teammate Lucas Weber. Here he goes in the second Renault, and we're a bit of a sitting duck in a straight line here with DRS not available to us, of course, as we go into the hairpin. Going to try and do our best to squeeze Weber out on the left-hand side as we go towards the last corner there. He's just about still got his nose in on the left, and we're going to brake early then and try and cut in tight and get the move done on the main pit straight then. So effectively what we did on Perez the first time then was go to left-hand side, a little bit of a tyre on the grass as we wiggle through there with such speed and momentum of the car, nearly can't control it, and Weber sticks his nose in, makes some contact with me to the inside of turn 1 and forces me to stay on the left-hand side. I tried to shut the door on him into the apex. Instead he gets the elbows out, and he does a great job at fighting back, and so he maintains this position. I really thought I would have got him there, and on the exit of that left-hander just don't get enough traction, and in fact Gasly even tried to go down my inside there by sticking a nose in. I'm going to try a late lunge to the inside. It's a very late call, and Weber, oh god, squeezes us right off the circuit there. That was, I mean, to be fair, that was a very late call, very late lunge by me, but Weber, he would have seen me in the mirrors. I think that was a little bit of a cheeky kind of, no sir, I'm not having any of it, gonna squeeze you right off into the gravel trap there, because he would have for sure seen me in the mirrors, and he probably could have jumped out of the way a little bit and tried to give me some kind of room. But alas, we move on now towards lap 24, still fighting there, still behind Weber within DRS. This time we're gonna make it count. We go to left once more, and again dip a tar onto the grass with such momentum in the car, but this time look at that, so aggressive into the apex there, cut him off completely, not having any of it of what happened last lap there, and we're going to maintain the position now for P6 then and cut him off. But oh god, yellow flags behind us, and this is why a replay shows once we cut off Weber, he went wide, and Gasly was very cheeky, tried to go down the inside there, gets it all crossed up and wrong, and gets half spun onto the grass there, and has to go very slowly back onto the circuit, and he actually leaves some room for the Williams car, unfortunately, there, and so he loses 3 positions rather than gain 1, so that's very, very unfortunate for him, and so that'll be rather annoying for the entire team, really, for the points. But here we go now. We're looking at the race leader that was Charles Leclerc in first place, Butler second place, because this man, Lewis Hamilton, has finally pit for a set of soft tyres. So he was doing just a contra strategy of mediums to softs rather than softs to mediums. So it is a 1-2 now for Toro Rosso. Verstappen there in fourth place, trying his best to chase after Lewis Hamilton, but it's no use, I don't think. I think Hamilton will maintain third place, which is rather annoying because he doesn't really deserve it, because the Mercedes car isn't really at that pace, but fair enough. But it's a race win then for Leclerc in his brand new team in the Toro Rosso. It's a back-to-back victory for Toro Rosso from Bahrain to the Chinese Grand Prix, and for us it's going to be 6th place, a pretty hard fought and a pretty decent one considering where we started in this Grand Prix.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
Here's our winner, pulling their Toro Rosso into Parc Ferme, and what a fantastic race. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, time management probably played quite a large role in the outcome of this one. As ever, it's not just about speed, it's all about maintaining that speed consistently over a stint, over a race distance. So being able to keep up the lap times while still being smooth on the controls and gentle on the tyres, that's really where the race was won today.
Our winners are heading to the podium right now. Toro Rosso have done an exceptional job when it comes to forging new talent, and seeing them take home the victory today is a huge positive for the future of the sport.
So finally, the much heralded 1-2 for Toro Rosso in the race finally comes through in the third round there. Quite surprising, actually, considering how fast Toro Rosso look on paper. But obviously, things happen in the race. This is Formula 1. Anything can happen in the race, especially in the F1 game. But they finally get through with that dominant race, I guess you could say, finally, with the 1-2 at China. But for us, it was it was a pretty decent Grand Prix, actually. Some of the moves we were making, especially on the soft tyres, very enjoyable to come back through the order and try and fight back up the way. But that first stint in the wet was so horrendous there. And at the end, it was a little bit cagey with Lucas Weber and trying to keep Perez behind, try my best, but in the end we can still get a pretty decent result, I would say. And if you look at the constructors, obviously now Toro Rosso get into the lead now, Renault second place, McLaren there, we're still P4, and I think in terms of the actual points gap, I think we're still kind of in the mix there. So now this is perfect. Next race we should theoretically, hopefully if they don't fail the R&D upgrades, we should have 3 ultimate upgrades and 1 major upgrade coming in for the engine side, the chassis and the aero, all parts of the car being upgraded for the next race at Azerbaijan. With those upgrades, hopefully we can try and bridge the gap we've got right now to Toro Rosso, Renault and McLaren in terms of the constructors' points, and really start to properly make a start on the season. Right now, 3 races gone. This is the kind of pain part of the season that I said and talked about in the first race, and we kind of got through the hump now. Now we just hopefully wait for the upgrades to come in, and we can actually start a real get-go trying to challenge Renault and McLaren and try and challenge our quote-unquote junior team, Toro Rosso, and trying to get the balance back into the rightful hands of Red Bull, I guess you could say. But as we move on then to the end of the Grand Prix, we're going to purchase another ultimate upgrade on the chassis side of things. So we have the money to spend on that. So we went for it. The tyre upgrade. So that will be quite useful. That will come in for the Monaco Grand Prix. So that could be quite useful for that one in terms of track position and whatnot. But we're getting pretty close to a maxed out Red Bull car. We have about maybe 4, 5, I think like 6 upgrades on the aero, 2 upgrades on the engine side of things, and only I think that's the last one or last 2 on the chassis side of things. So we're getting pretty close to a maxed out Red Bull, which would be very, very awesome to think about, really, in reality. But that's been the end of the episode then, guys. So if you did enjoy that one, then be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, subscribe for weekly Fallen content. I've been aarava. Home to today. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.